Hi guys, Matt Steele here. I'm someone from eastern Pennsylvania, outside of Philadelphia. I live in a town called King of Prussia. I've had epilepsy as a part of my life since I was 1.5, so I'm one of the people who lives with it. I am recording this because I found out from the National Epilepsy Foundation that they are doing this e-journey share your story, and they said that you can either do a video for it or you can enter the information online. And recently I've been doing some workout videos to parts of my life that tie with epilepsy and doing videos with them, explaining them and putting them online. So I've been enjoying this, so I thought I'd do it this way. I had my first seizure at a really young age. I was 1.5 years old. It was also my most severe one, so mine were not missed. My first seizure, they approximated I couldn't breathe for 3 minutes. I was life-flighted to Children's Hospital in Pittsburgh. One of the first medicines they tried me on was Tegretol. Completely wiped out my white blood cell count. I had to be put in intensive care. For 5 days, I was not able to walk or talk. They thought I'd be like that the rest of my life. Luckily, they're not always right with that sort of thing. But yeah, and the doctor said I'd make it through when I took 45 minutes to open a package of graham crackers. Throughout my life, I've always been very, very open about it. I've talked to my friends, talked to parents, talked to counselors, teachers, coaches, and I spoke at my school on a panel from when I was in first grade through when I was in 6th grade, informing my peers about what epilepsy is, myths about it, what my kinds of seizures look like, different ways to help, things to not be afraid of, side effects medicines can have, different kinds of things. I had them go up and down. They came and went and came and went. From about 6 to when I was in my sophomore year in high school. They were just back and forth and back and forth. I would have some periods where they weren't there, but I did get to go to Capitol Hill to advocate for funding for Kids Speak Up. I spoke to both at the time were senators, Hillary Clinton and Chuck Schumer, and both of them signed for the funding, so that was great. I've done a lot of fundraising over the years for the foundation. I had one brain surgery. I have not had any VNSs or anything like that. My brain surgery came after I came out of college, and at that time I had been 7 years seizure free, and then they came back in my senior year and I started to look. I had 16 in 1 year, and I looked. My doctor said I was a good candidate to go ahead and try it, so I looked all over the country, looked at various doctors, ended up going with Mount Sinai in New York City, where a neurologist from the past was linked with. So the neurologist was through Beth Israel, but they're linked with Mount Sinai. So I went there, and that was a good experience. The exact term for what I had done to me was a temporal lobectomy and a selective amygdala hippocampectomy. So technically, they took out part of my temporal lobe, my little bit where my scar tissue was, and they took out some of my amygdala. It's long term, but that's what they did. And I am doing this for spread awareness for the Share Your Journey, Share Your Story. But the biggest challenge I'd say I faced was studying through school. My processing speed was very, very slow. I had an aide in the classroom when we did the typing, and I was given 504 classification, and then in college I got to partial time. But what I did to help combat that was I created my own test. On day one, I would come up with matching, fill in the blanks. I would do like 10 to 15 of each, and I would memorize them. Day two, I would do a multiple choice, and I would of like 20 questions. I would memorize those and go up and repeat what I did before. Day three, I would go and I would do a couple short answers, go up and repeat the stuff from before. Day five, I would do essays. Day six, I would repeat what I had done the day before. Day six was like the day of, generally. Did okay. Generally B to A and everything. High school, middle school, high school were about that too. 1100 on the general, 2-part SAT. College, graduated 4 years, had a 3.55 in business and a 3.18 overall. So it's about where it was through life with that. It worked for me, so that's part of the challenge. Someone who just gets diagnosed, though, for a newly diagnosed individual, what I would recommend helped me: share your story, share your story, share your story. The more people that know, the better. The safer you are, the more people that know, the safer you are, the less judgment that goes, the more people will help you, the more people will include you. The more people that include you, the more people will accept people with epilepsy. So be open about it, don't be afraid. The more you're afraid, the more it'll catch up to you, the more people will exclude you because you weren't honest with them, so be open throughout. And then for caregivers, make sure you know seizure first aid and how it changes. So years ago, caregivers used to be taught to put something on the tongue. That's a myth. We can't swallow the tongue. And know what the person's seizure that you're caring for, what it looks like, how long it can last. Like mine used to last longer, so the time that you normally would call first aid would be 5 minutes, but we would tell people, for me, not until it hits 8 to 10, because mine could get really long. So, and also don't let it hold you back or the person who has the epilepsy back. Try to let them live as normal of a life as possible, and the more people you inform, the more of a normal life they can live, the less fear you will have. And then the next one is, how has epilepsy helped you? The Epilepsy Foundation helped you? Well, me personally, I've been all over the place, so it's kind of helped me, find a purpose. But I've moved a lot. But this most recent one, the Epilepsy Foundation of Eastern Pennsylvania, it's given me some friends, and I've moved on my own, and given me some friends and people to reach out to and support networks. So lots of different ways that it's been helpful there. They've helped recommend doctors and stuff too. And when I found out I had epilepsy, so my first one came when I was 1.5. So my story is a little different on this one. I might have been told at a really young age. I started to kind of understand it when I was 5. I shared general information about it when I was 6 in that panel I was telling you about earlier. And probably when I was in 2nd grade, I got real into it, started to tell all kinds of parents and stuff, and counselors, and I would understand my medicine names and the color of the pills. So I'd say for me it wasn't really fear, because I kind of had already lived with the symptoms and just wasn't aware of what everything was at that point. I was still piecing things together, but I'd say that program I did in elementary school, it was a big part of my life growing up, and then continued my vision with epilepsy going on. So, the big thing is just spread the word. Don't be afraid to do normal things in life. Don't let it hold you back. There's always people who understand you. 1 in 26, fourth most common neurological disorder. 3.4 million in the country. There's a lot of people who it affects, and that's just the number who they know have it. There are some cases that they don't know that the person has it yet, and that's just the people. That's not the family members, friends, other people who it can affect as well. So it affects a wide variety of people. Don't be afraid to share. Try to live as normal of a life as possible and stay upbeat. That's the hardest one, even as you get older, because depression occurs in 1 out of 3 people. I've had it myself. One of those 1/3 with epilepsy who gets depression. So stay positive, share the story. Good things will come.